Good morning. It's 9 o'clock and time for the Tuesday, August 13th meeting of the Board of County Commissioners of Indian River County. If we could have some quiet, please. Thank you. We're going to begin with a moment of silent reflection for our first responders. That'll be followed by an invocation led by Reverend Timothy Womack, followed by the pledge led by Jason Brown. Please rise.
O holy God, we do give you thanks, and we are in such appreciation for our first responders, all those who care for us in the most mundane moments of our living to ensure that we are safe and that we are well and that we are healthy. We thank you for all those who provide services and those who care in ways in which sometimes we barely appreciate, yet that give us such great benefit. Today we pray for those in the leadership of this council as they discern issues and opportunities that will impact the residents of Indian River County. We thank you for those who serve, and we pray for them that they would serve with both skill and compassion. We pray that as they address the issues impacting our county, that they will balance the need of living in a community that is well off, wealthy, and healthy. We pray for our democracy, and we pray that we would accept the wisdom of John Locke that held us accountable for how we care and treat the most vulnerable of our citizens. Remind us this day that all must be united in the principles of our republic, for the truth remains that a house divided against itself will not long stand. So let us find unity and deference and forbearance and understanding as we address important issues. Bless those who lead us so that they may be a blessing unto us. This is our humble prayer unto you. Amen.
Thank you very much, Reverend Womack. Before moving to the agenda, I'd just like to announce that Commissioner Flesher is sorry he couldn't be here today, but he had a medical procedure yesterday, and he's actually down at the doctor's again today. He said to let everybody know he's in great shape, but please forgive him for not being here today. With that said, we'll move to additions and deletions to the agenda. Anybody have any additions or deletions?
I would just ask if we could move my item 14B1 to 5D.
Any others?
Mr. Chairman, I think item 5B, Dory's retirement might take a little time. A lot of people might want to speak. And we have Smokey Bear here, and if we could move 5C up and do that so he can get back to his important work of preventing forest fires.
Well, I really thought that.
Knowing that he's in a costume that might be a little warm to be wearing, so.
Okay, I really think that he should probably stay and see this, because for Smokey the Bear, just one government employee, to see how well another local government employee works, this could be a great example to federal employees.
Oh, boy.
But we'll pass on that.
And to the chair, the county attorney's office had recommended that 13F be added, which is the Agriculture Advisory Committee vacancy position.
Very good. Any others?
Move to approve the agenda as amended.
Second.
Motion from Commissioner O'Brien, second by Commissioner Adams. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 5-0. We now move to proclamations and presentations. The first is the presentation of Indian River County appropriations check by Senator Mayfield and Representative Grawl. I don't see Senator Mayfield, but Representative Grawl is here, and probably a representative from the Senator's office. Come on up, please. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, and unfortunately, Senator Mayfield can't be with us today. She's with her husband Bob as he's healing, as you all know, and so I would ask that everybody continue to keep him and Senator Mayfield in your prayers. I'm excited to be here today and say thank you to you all and to present these checks for these two projects, the project of the North Relief Canal Aquatic Plant Project and that of the Indian River County North Sebastian Septic to Sewer Phase 2. And I really just want to commend each of you for your commitment to funding as well, so that this is really a true partnership between the state and the county. You all work very diligently to make sure that you are doing everything you can to protect our lagoon, and the commitment from the state is there, and I think that it really shows such a great partnership that we are invested in this together. And so I look forward to the completion of these projects, much like the others that you've all worked on in the last number of years, and I'm excited to be here today to present these two appropriations checks. And I would be remiss in not saying anything about Senator Mayfield and what a champion she has been for these issues in the legislature. And it really does sadden me that she's not here today, because she has really taken such just leadership around these issues over her time in service. And so I'm sorry that she can't be here, but know that the commitment will continue from her end and my end as we move into the next legislative session. So
Thank you very much.
to do a picture as well.
Great.
We have
Well,
Awesome,
big
yeah.
checks. If
Why don't you come on up here and you can stand with it right in front. And on behalf of the Board of County Commissioners, thank you very much for these checks.
We'll see you September 5th for the ribbon cutting for the stormwater park, right? Okay, great.
Okay, on three. 1, 2, 3. Need one more. 1, 2, 3.
And Mr. Chairman, if I could add real quick, we have a grand opening next month for Osprey Acres, which is an appropriation that Representative Grahl and Senator Mayfield procured for us for a couple of years ago. So these projects just keep coming, and we appreciate the partnership with the state.
Great. Well, why don't you announce the time and date of it so the public might want to join us, because it's a great facility.
That is on September 5th at 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock, yes.
And it really is a beautiful facility. Anybody who has some time ought to come and take a look at it. It's not just some sort of purely technological wonder. It's something which actually blends very well a new passive technology, which helps clean up the water, with a nice area of Indian River County. And I think the more time people spend there, the more they're going to enjoy it. So with that plug, we'll move on to a presentation of a proclamation honoring Smokey Bear. And this is a proclamation that Commissioner Zork is going to present, and that Trevor Taylor and Smokey Bear are going to receive. Good morning. Commissioner.
Good morning.
Zork.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And as Smokey makes his way down, we'll ask him for a few words. Not sure how that'll work. You'll speak for him. Okay. This is a proclamation congratulating Smokey Bear in Indian River County, Florida. Whereas on August 9th, 2019, Smokey Bear celebrates his 75th birthday, which also marked his wildlife prevention campaign as the longest-running public service campaign in U.S. history, voicing a message even more relevant today than in 1944, as more people live closer to natural areas, so no retirement for Smokey.
Tough break, Smokey.
Maybe you can get a cola in there. Whereas the mission of the Florida Forestry Service is to protect Florida and its people from the dangers of wildland fire and management of our forest resources through its stewardship ethic to assure they are available for future generations. And whereas in the last 5 years, the Florida Forestry Service wildland firefighter have responded to over 107 wildfires in Indian River County that burned 3,120 acres, in many instances threatening communities and adjoining infrastructure. And whereas the Florida Forestry Service is actively engaged in promoting and conducting prescribed burns and other wildlife mitigation practices to reduce the size and intensity of wildfires that may threaten communities and other infrastructure, providing the 3,659 burn authorizations to local ranchers, farmers, and land managers in Indian River County in the last 5 years alone to maintain and restore natural ecosystems and reduce wildfire hazards. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners, Indian River County, Florida, that Smokey Bear is congratulated on his 75th birthday in his efforts and to continue his efforts to remind citizens to be careful when using fire in natural areas. Further, the board commends the men and women of the Florida Forest Service for their partnership with Indian River County in Smokey Bear and wildlife prevention and mitigation, adopted this 13th day of August 2019, signed by all 5 county commissioners. Happy birthday.
Hey, Smokey.
On behalf of Brian Torres, Senior Forest Ranger, who is a state wildland firefighter, and myself, Melissa Eunice, we thank you so much. Smokey Bear's story is so important for kids and adults to get the message out. We go to elementary school, preschools, we go to your libraries. We're constantly out in the community at events spreading the message that matches are not toys but tools. And if we can teach children to be responsible with lighters and matches and anything with fire, maybe they'll grow up in the hopes to be responsible with fire when they're adults. And that's the whole point about the Smokey campaign, is education. And it's still an incredible enjoyment for all of us to be a part of this. And we also have to thank our partners. Indian River County Fire Rescue is an amazing partner. We love to work with them, fight wildfires with them, and educate the community. And we're very glad that we have an incredible partnership with Indian River County Parks and Recreations, Environmental Lands, and when it does prescribe burning and ecosystem restoration. So thank you for your support. Thank you for the community's support. And if we could have a picture, we'd be really happy.
We'd love that.
Thank you so
My
much.
pleasure, yeah.
Here's the proclamation. We should have did a big birthday card. And had
They did.
everyone sign it. There's one floating around? Yeah. Oh, that one.
Here, Tim, switch with me.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay, everybody, on 3. 1, 2, 3. We'll do one more. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
All right, Smokey. Woo!
Stool back here. Thank you.
Thanks, guys, for coming down. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Smokey, may you enjoy 75 more smoke-free years. We're now going to come on to today's main event, and this is going to be the presentation of a proclamation honoring, I really didn't know her real first name until I saw the proclamation. I always thought Dory was her first name. Doris Roy, on her retirement from Indian River County Board of County Commissioners Office of the County Administrator for 35 years of service. So Dory, if you'd want to come up and bring your family with you if you'd like.
They can stay seated. I brought them with me, but
So I'm going to read the proclamation, and then all the commissioners are going to say nice things about you until you're just about to get teary-eyed, and then we're going to ask you if you'd like to say anything. I'm very happy this morning to read this proclamation honoring Doris Roy on her retirement from the Indian River County Board of County Commissioners Office of the County Administrator with 35 years of service. Whereas Dory Roy began her career with the county in 1984 as the assistant to the Assistant County Administrator and provided support for human resources, general services, and buildings and grounds, now facilities management. Early in 1986, when they received their first computer, she converted the welfare and human services files to a computerized database. And whereas in 1986, Dory was transferred to the building department and became the assistant to the building official. She was responsible for contractor licensing, public records, and certificates of occupancy. During this time, she coordinated the creation and implementation of permitting, inspection, contract licensing, and financial management software for the building department. And whereas She received a promotion in 1998 to Assistant to the Community Development Director. In this position, she served as the countywide system administrator for the development software system CD+. In 1999, she was project manager for the CD+ Y2K conversion and of the addition and implementation of code enforcement into the system. And whereas, in 2004, Dory was promoted to the position she held until her retirement, Executive Assistant to the County Administrator. Beginning with the hurricanes of 2004, Dory has established herself as an integral member of the county's Emergency Operations Center team. She was project manager for the establishment of the Enterprise GIS system in 2005, and in 2016, worked with the clerk to the board to convert the board to agendas to an electronic agenda management system. Additionally, she supervised the GIS department. In 2012, when an office manager was needed to reorganize the Board of County Commission office, Dory was hand-selected by the commissioners for the job. Her efforts have resulted in a cohesive team providing support to commissioners, staff, and citizens of Indian River County. And whereas Dory's county experience and expertise is extensive, and she has been essential to county commissioners and administrators alike, helping them solve problems and address constituent issues appropriately and properly to the benefit of the residents of Indian River County. And whereas throughout her entire career, Dory consistently received the highest accolades for her outstanding customer service and forward-thinking actions. She is highly respected by the commission, staff, constitutional officers, and other organizations and businesses and citizens in the community. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Indian River County, Florida, that the board applauds Doris Roy for her 35 years of service to Indian River County and expresses its appreciation for her dedication. And be it further proclaimed that the Board of County Commissioners and staff wish her the best in her retirement. Adopted this 13th day of August 2019. And Dory, we can only start to say, well, the proclamation did indicate a lot of things you do. And right off the bat, this is kind of a two-edged sword. It's clear that you can do anything in the county except perhaps manage public works heavy equipment. The other thing, it seems, is you're responsible for half the bureaucracy in the county too. So, but as a commissioner, I remember the first time I remember meeting you was when you had the cubbyhole of an office in the old hospital building, and I was thinking of running for county commissioner. And you were very helpful to me then, when I was just somebody off the street. And after being elected, you were always very helpful. And for a commissioner who knows very little when he gets this job initially, or she gets this job initially, it's very helpful to know somebody who knows how things work. So often we'd have a problem, bring it to Dory, and Dory would know exactly how to process the problem. And it was great. Can't tell you how many constituents have been happy with me because of what Dory did. So I want to thank you for that. So this is a great opportunity for me to say thank you for all the help that you've given me, the Board of County Commissioners, and the citizens of Indian River County. Thank you. Anyone else? Commissioner O'Brien?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And boy, that was news. Dory, I didn't know you had a chance to talk Bob about running for county commission. Dang it, we missed an opportunity there. And in that long list of accomplishments, the one thing that wasn't put in there was probably your biggest task, your biggest chore, was keeping Joe Baird under control on most days, because we all know Joe was the kinder, gentler Joe there for a few years. And and Dory, I think Commissioner Flory said it right. So many of our constituents are happy now because of the help and support you provided. One thing, anytime I had an issue with a permit or anything to do with the building department, Dory was my one-stop shop, and then she would still be able to call up all the files and say, oh, yep, here's the thing, we'll get it fixed, and boom, it was done. So it's little things like that that go unnoticed, I think, in the big picture, but make a huge difference to the person that came to me with a problem. And so, Dory, you will be missed. I know you'll do a great job training Tina to fill in there, and we'll expect the same kind of support from Tina, but certainly you're leaving some big shoes to fill. We'll miss you, but have a great time and enjoy what you're doing, and just love you. Take care.
Commissioner Adams.
Dory, it has been a pleasure working with you these past couple years, and, you know, I echo everything that my fellow commissioners have said. You've been able to help me navigate through very murky channels in this building quite successfully. I appreciate all that you've done. You will be very missed. Big shoes for Tina to fill, but I know she's up for it. And we wish you all the luck and all the well wishes in the world in your retirement. And if you get too bored, you can always come on back. We'll have a space for you. I think Jason's got an extra cubby over there in his office.
We'll make a spot.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, Dory, we've worked together for many, 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 many years. And I'm trying to remember one of the most unique stories, and I have to make sure I have it right, that you were the person at the desk when the man chained himself and padlocked himself to the desk. Many county employees deal with customer service issues. Melbourne has the shoe bomber guy, or whatever that fellow was that wasn't happy with the water management district. And Dory had the guy that would not leave, and he literally chained and padlocked himself to the desk. And I don't remember what his problem was. Maybe you remember in more detail.
Painting license.
All that for a painting license. Wow. But I do remember the ruckus of the word going out that there was a man in the building chained to Dory's desk. So, but other than that, there's many hundreds, if not thousands, of success stories of people that you helped and issues that you resolved. The only thing that would be great is if you could be here the day CD Plus passes on and you could hit it with the hammer one last time. You know, when that came out, that was the best thing since sliced bread. We had the ultimate cutting edge technology. And now technology has passed us up and we have CD Plus, which still works. It does its job. But for those of you who don't know, it manages all the permitting, the history of properties and things in this side of the building, not the property appraiser. But at some day, maybe we'll have a ceremonial pull the plug on CD Plus someday and invite you back to unplug the system that you helped create in the beginning. But thank you for all your years of service. Have a lot of fun, and we'll look forward to seeing you around town. Thank you.
Jason?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, so in each job description, you usually have other duties as assigned. You know, there's the things that are in the job description, and then there's those other duties. Dory takes that to a higher level. If you look at what was in the proclamation, all these things, being the system administrator for CD Plus and community development, at that time, I think our first computer person started in 1998. They started a month before me, actually. So Dory took things on like that, and it was over and over again. You see it with GIS. You saw it with the BCC office, the things in human services. Dory took everything, EOC, everything to that next level. So it was kind of Dory recognizing and seeing something that needed to be done. And so for CD Plus, for instance, there was no cavalry coming, and that was by far the most sophisticated computer system that we had in the whole county. Everything else was behind that. And so Dory went and did those things and went above and beyond again and again and again throughout 35 years. So I just want to thank her for that. It continued in the EOC. I mentioned one of her biggest challenges probably has been taking this new guy and kind of being my training wheels. And about 3 months into the job for me, we got Hurricane Matthew, which fortunately glanced away at the last minute. But the EOC was quite an exciting experience there. And I said, Dory, are you ready? We're ready. We're going in. And she helped get me through some difficult things like that and a lot of other challenges. So after 3 years, I guess I'm going to be losing the training wheels that I had. So I want to say thank you to Dory for being there for me, going that extra mile. There may have been times, Commissioner O'Brien mentioned wrangling Joe Baird, there may have been times during our time she thought, boy, I thought Joe was tough. Now I got to work with this guy. But But, you know, that just exemplifies what Dory did her whole career, was seeing something that needed to be done and going and tackling it with vigor and with a level of excellence that you just really don't see very often. So I want to say thank you to Dory for just doing that and going above and beyond for 35 years in her career, and specifically for helping me through the last 3, and you will be missed. So thank you.
You know, we've all heard about how amazing Dory is and all the wonderful tasks she has. I'll just put it a slightly different way to express it is just, it was always just wonderful working with you, Dory. You were just so pleasant. I just looked forward to seeing you in the morning, checking in, just saying, hey, Dory, anything I need to know about this morning as the day starts? And you'd kind of give me the update, or hopefully it would be no, nothing, I haven't heard anything yet. But just wanted you to know, I mean, you've accomplished so many great things. You did so many great things for this county, but just for me, it was really just fantastic getting to work with such a wonderful person like you. So thank you.
Nobody in this organization owes Dory more than Joe Baird. So I'm going to ask Joe to come on up. Not only do I want to hear, I really want to see if he can actually say something nice about another person. And I expect if he doesn't today, that Dory's family is going to kneecap him.
Dory is truly an exceptional person. I mean, she'd work with me every day. Who can do that? I mean, there's one person you meet in your life that's an exceptional person, that would be Dory. That's all I have to say. I'm very short on words, but she worked so hard for this county. She cared. She did everything. Weekends, she'd call if there was something she forgot or I forgot, she'd remind me, which was quite a few times. But she is an exceptional person. And I think that the community doesn't know what they've lost when she retires. And thank you.
And Dory touched a lot of people in this county, so I'll ask if there's anybody else here from the public who might want to say anything. Come on up. Why don't you come to the far podium so you don't have to push Dory's family out of the way?
Good afternoon, commissioners, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Joseph Paladin. I've been working in this county for 20 years, and I've been working with Dory for 20 years. She was great, and I agree exactly with what Commissioner Solari said. The biggest asset we had was her being the buffer between Joe Baird and us. She's been awesome, and I'm going to miss you, Dory, and you've always been great, and I'll always remember you. Congratulations. Bye.
Thank you, Commissioner. Jeff Smith, Clerk and Comptroller. I first met Dory when I became an employee of Jeff Barton back in the 90s, early 90s, and I was in finance. And Dory was next door. We were in the old hospital building, and she was next door in the building department. We struck up a personal friendship, and then when she became the assistant, the executive assistant, I really appreciate her working with my staff to implement Granicus and the electronic system for Agenda. She really took the lead and really was a nice person to work with. She's also a nice person individually. So thank you, Dory. I'm going to miss you, and we all are going to miss you. My staff especially is going to miss you, and congratulations.
Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. As a member of the general public, I wanted to be here this morning so I could say thank you to Dory Roy. After so many years of answering my telephone calls, securing information that I thought I must have, and always a smile in her voice. I wish her well in her retirement and am thrilled that she will continue to make Indian River County her home. I want to tell you all a little story.
Oh boy, here we go.
In anticipation of this day, I'm reminded of some years back in the dark ages, back in the 1970s. We had a young lady by the name of Liz Forlani. She served as secretary to the Board of County Commissioners. Her notes of each meeting were written in shorthand and transcribed the day following our meetings. She worked with Jack Jennings, our county administrator, to prepare our agenda. When it was ready, she would deliver the agenda and the backup material to each of the commissioners at their place of business and at home. She called almost daily to find out if there was anything else she could do. Our meetings were held on Wednesday mornings at 8:30, twice a month. When we arrived, there was always a new sharpened pencil on the table in front of our nameplates. Our coffee breaks were fun. Our coffee pot was located in the broom closet of the old courthouse on 14th Avenue downtown. This was the gathering spot for citizens to give us information that we must have for the next item on the agenda. As commissioners, we were eventually retired and left Liz to indoctrinate the newly elected officials. She used to say, "The new commissioners are so young and have so much to learn." I tell you all this little story because it illustrates how back then and today we have one common goal, and that is to build a better tomorrow for the citizens of Indian River County. Thank you so much.
Dory, over the 23 years that I worked for the Chamber of Commerce, I probably talked to you 3-4 times a week. And always, you were personable, you were professional, you were funny. I couldn't wait for the next call. And I think, all the problems and all the issues that came up during that time, I always knew that I could count on you for the right answers, the direction to get to the right office. It was just really an enjoyable time to be able to work with you. And thanks for all you've done for the county.
Thank you, Penny. Any last comments? Dory, we turn the podium over to you.
I didn't prepare anything. I just came to listen. I just want to thank everybody. I had a lot of support over the years. I had terrific bosses and mentors, and it's been a great career. It's never been boring, and I've been lucky to work with some really, really, really great people, and I'm thankful for that. And I appreciate everybody and everything that you've said, and I've made a lot of friends and have a lot of supporters, and just want to say thank you.
Dory, would you like to come on up and take the proclamation?
Mr. Chairman, while she's coming up, I would like to point out that I see employees here from almost every department I can think of to show their support for Dory. And we have constitutional officers here, Wesley Davis, property appraiser, Sheriff Laura is here. So I think that shows the broad reach Dory had, affecting almost every single employee here in the county. stand next to the shining light. All right.
That's the shining light.
Ready? 1, 2, 3. Do one more. 1, 2, 3.
We now move to what's now 5D, Commissioner Adams' matter, which was moved up. Commissioner Adams.
Thank you. Oh, is this on? Okay. I would just like to attach to this commissioner memo is a resolution of support for the Indian River Lagoon Council's adoption of the CCMP, or Comprehensive Conservation and Management Plan. The IRL Council has adopted that, and what we are asking is for each county that's a member to also adopt a resolution of support. So it just shows a unified front across the region for when we take this to Tallahassee and to DC, looking for dollars and grant monies. Volusia County and Martin County have already passed a resolution of support, so I would just ask that we do the same. Dr. DeFries is here to answer any questions that you guys might have about either the CCMP, what's going on with the IRL NEP in general, or this particular resolution of support.
Good morning, Dr. DeFries.
Good morning. Mr. Chair, members of the commission, County Manager Brown. First and foremost, I want to thank the citizens, scientists that you all appointed to our management conference, over 100 individuals, and also the citizens. We've had tremendous support from Indian River County as we move this CCMP to its present place, which has taken a little over 2 years. So we started this a little over 2 years ago with a hard push over the last 12 months. On July 23rd, the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, both in Region 4 and in headquarters in Washington, D.C., certified the document. We had unanimous support from the management conference last week, and the IRL Council adopted this plan on Friday. And this is really not the end, although I'm really glad we're at this place. This has been a heavy lift. It's really about the beginning. And so this plan, it really presents a 32-lane highway for all of our partners. It's non-regulatory. It doesn't tell the counties or the cities or our citizens, how to do something, how to prioritize it. We look to you to decide locally how you want to move forward from here with your projects and with your priorities. But what it does do is it sets a foundation for moving forward for a healthy lagoon that encompasses both the environmental, the economic, and many of the social issues that we know have to come together for a healthy ecosystem. So what will happen next, once we bundle these resolutions and letters, is that we will set this document into a printable format. We will invite you all to a formal signing ceremony, hopefully in the near future, and then we get back to the business at hand, which has already started. Bills are already dropping, both in Washington, D.C. for our reauthorization, Tallahassee for funding for next year. And so I want to remind your staff and everybody who's listening, who's working on the lagoon, that from this point forward, anybody who's writing a grant looking for infrastructure funding or support for a restoration program should be referencing this document because we have basically made it, our new marching orders for the next 10 years with full support at the federal level. So with that, I'll just answer questions, and again, thank you for your not only support to me personally over the last year, which has been pretty tough, my staff, but also for your long-standing support of the lagoon. Indian River County has been a leader for many years, well before we reorganized the IRL Council, and I appreciate that innovation and support and look forward to working with you in the future.
Thank you, Doctor. Any questions for Dr. DeFries? Mr. Adams?
I just wanted to add that yesterday at the Indian River Soil and Water Control District meeting, they did also pass a letter of support for this resolution and for the work that the NEP is doing. So I just wanted to add that, and with that, I'd be happy to make a motion that we adopt the resolution of support for the CCMP.
There's a motion from Commissioner Adams, second by Commissioner O'Brien. Any other questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Passes 5-0.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you very much, Dr. DeFreeze. We'll now move on to the minutes. We have approval of minutes for the regular meeting of June 4th and June 11th. Any,
Move approval?
Second.
we have a motion from Commissioner O'Brien, second by Commissioner Adams. Any other questions, changes, deletions, additions? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Passes 4-0. Commissioner Flesher being absent. We now go to information items. I'm going to want to pull 7K just for a quick word. Any others?
I did want to pull one, and it might be the same one. What'd you do? You pulled K? Okay, that was what I was going to pull, so I'm good.
Well, I beat you to it then.
Yeah, I know.
So this is anything to do with finance, I generally do. So this is the Government Finance Officers Association. Once again, gave the Distinguished Budget Presentation Award to our Budget Department. So Christian Daniels and your staff, we basically, the Board of County Commissioners wants to first congratulate you, but also thank you. Just another area of the county, because of the great work of the county staff, where we commissioners don't have to worry too much. So, thank you. Commissioner O'Brien?
No, just, Kristen, great job. Keep up the good work, and appreciate everything y'all do.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
It's got to be a heavy burden for you, though. I mean, when you got appointed as the budget director, you had a wall with about 27 of these awards on already. So, I mean, failure is not to get it. It's
You
tough.
don't want to be the year that we don't make it. No,
Yes.
that's for sure.
So, good luck.
Thank you. Thank you.
We'll now move on to the consent agenda. Anybody wish to pull anything from the consent agenda? I'll ask if there's anybody in the public who'd like to pull anything from the consent agenda for discussion. Pardon? There being none, be happy to get a motion.
Move to approve consent agenda?
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner O'Brien, second by Commissioner Zork. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Passes 5-0. 4-0, Commissioner Flesher being absent. I'm going to be saying that wrong all day.
I'm sure the clerk will make up for all your mistakes.
Let me, for every motion, have the last one after four of us, that Commissioner Flesher is absent. We'll move to constitutional officers and government agencies. Indian River County Sheriff Lohr requesting to use proceeds resulting from the sale of surplus property and vehicles to acquire new like-kind property. Be happy to get a motion to approve.
I'll move the sheriff's request.
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner O'Brien, second by Commissioner Adams. Before we take a vote, I'll ask the sheriff if he wants to make any comments.
Good morning, Commissioners, and I certainly appreciate, as you know, this is an annual ritual, so to speak, and we're very pleased that we've shifted to an online format instead of having a big auction on our campus and expending a lot of overtime and the like, and we look forward to moving forward. So thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you very much. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes 4-0, Commissioner Flesher being absent. We now move on to the first public item, which is Stone Ridge LLC request to rezone 19.24 acres from RS3 to RS6. And this is a quasi-judicial matter, which is a little bit unusual. And we have a script, which I hope to find in a minute, to help us get through the procedure. So this item is a request by Stone Ridge LLC to rezone 19.24 acres from RS3 Single Family Residential District up to 3 units per acre to RS6 Single Family Residential District up to 6 units per acre for property located south of 65th Street, west of the lateral G Canal, and east of 48th Avenue. The parties to the proceeding are Indian River County and Stone Ridge LLC, the applicant. I'm now going to ask the commissioners to disclose any ex parte communications, site visits, or independent investigations. I'll start with Commissioner Zork.
None, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner
None.
Adams? I have none.
I have none, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. I'll now ask to confirm that the commissioners have an open mind and are able to base their decision on the evidence presented and applicable law. Commissioner O'Brien.
I do and I can.
I do and I can. Commissioner Adams?
I do and I can.
I can and will.
Very good. I'll now ask that anybody who thinks that they may want to comment on this matter, if you'd stand and be sworn in by the clerk. And then I'll ask if the clerk will swear them in, please.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Thank you. We're now going to have a presentation by county staff. Mr. Shute, Mr. DeBlois, good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. So yeah, as you stated, the request before you this morning is Stone Ridge Properties LLC, and I think I'm getting ahead of myself. I shouldn't introduce myself usually. I'm Bill Shute, Chief of Long Range Planning for Indian River County. So back to the request. Stone Ridge Properties LLC is requesting to rezone land from RS3, residential single family, 3 units per acre, to RS6, residential single family, 6 units per acre. On the slide above, we have the location, and the property is highlighted or surrounded with a red bold line. It is located on the south side of 65th Street, east of 48th Avenue. And really, we have some property addresses as well, 4655 65th Street and 4755 64th Street. Directly to the west, we have the North Carolina Colony subdivision with single-family homes. To the east, we have vacant land that is owned by the applicant, as well as the lateral G canal and vacant land on the other side of the lateral G canal. To the south, we have Bent Pine Golf Course, which is the golf course with some vegetation as well that borders this property and a canal to the south. And across 65th Street, we have Crystal Falls subdivision, along with some single-family residences that are developed along 65th Street. And one more thing to note, to the northeast, we have the approved Lost Tree Preserve residential subdivision. That's a planned development. So the purpose is to secure the zoning necessary to use the site with uses that are allowed under the RS6 zoning district at a density that's consistent with the allowed density of its comprehensive plan land use designation. On June 27th, 2019, the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended that the Board of County Commissioners approve the request with a vote of 4-0. With the RS3 zoning, again, single family, up to 3 units per acre, allows for single-family development and various conditional uses, such as child and adult care facilities, foster care facilities, emergency services. Under the conventional RS3 subdivision regulations, projects are allowed to have 80-foot wide lots, minimum 80-foot wide. And the typical density, when you factor in all the development for the stormwater, the streets, and so forth, it usually yields about 2 to 2.5 units per acre. In this case, that would be 38 to 48 lots for the subject site. And with planned developments, of course, there's an option for planned developments, just like the example I highlighted on the earlier slide to the northeast, Lost Tree Preserve. A greater density is possible through the PD process, but that's a public hearing process that's required. So with RS6 zoning, it's up to 6 units per acre for single family. Allows for single-family development and various conditional uses allowed in the RS3 zoning district. Also allows the possibility of other conditional uses such as libraries. Conventional RS6 subdivision projects. So if a developer was to propose a standard RS6 subdivision, the widest lots they could achieve is 70-foot wide. And when you look at the development density, the density is typically between 2.5 and 3.2 units per acre. Even though it's up to 6 units per acre as a zoning designation. Again, that's factoring stormwater requirements, requirements for streets and so forth. And in this case, it'd be between 48 and 65 lots for the subject site. A greater density, just like the RS3, a greater density is possible through a PD process. Also through a small lot subdivision process with the RS6. A public hearing process is required for planned development. And the small lot subdivision would be administrative approval through Planning and Zoning Commission. On the future land use, as you can see on this slide, the entire area south of 65th Street is designated as L2. And to the north, we have L1. And L1 is up to 3 units per acre, and L2 is up to 6 units per acre for residential. With respect to the zoning, to the east and to the west, we have existing RS6 zoning. To the south, we have RM4. Again, that's the Bent Pine Golf Course. To the north, we have RS3. Again, that's the Crystal Falls subdivision and some other single-family lots developed on the north side. And planned development to the northeast, as well as further to the east beyond the canal. With the proposed zoning, that would complete the RS6 on the south side, carrying it from the east and west. Now with rezonings, applications, requests, there's set criteria that we always look at. We look at concurrency of public facilities, making sure public facilities are available. We look at consistency with the comprehensive plan, consistency with the county land development regulations. We look at the environmental impact, and we look at the compatibility with surrounding uses. With respect to concurrency, we check for sufficient capacity for certain facilities, in this case transportation, water, wastewater, solid waste, stormwater management, and all are currently available. And when a full development application for a project is presented, that's when you do a detailed concurrence review. With respect to the comprehensive plan, we checked all the land use policies, and a few to note are future land use policies 1.11, 1.12, and 2.2. And those focus on keeping development within the USA or urban service area, and consistent with allowed L2 land use designation of up to 6 units per acre. With respect to the county land development regulations, rezoning request is consistent with all applicable sections of the county land development regulations, including section 902.12, number 3, standards of review. Those are included with backup as an attachment to your report. With respect to environmental impacts, impact is the same for current and proposed zoning. Properties formerly contained citrus groves, currently contain 2 vacant single-family homes that are no longer in their natural state. With the rezoning request, there's no adverse environmental impacts. Looking at compatibilities, again, to the north, we have RS3 zoning. It's separated by 65th Street and a canal, 80 foot of right-of-way. There's existing single-family homes. There's no incompatibilities. To the west, we have the RS6 zoning, North Carolina County subdivision. There you have a mix. It was originally platted with 50-foot wide lots. And there's a mix over time. People have combined and subdivided to create different size lots, 75-foot wide, 100-foot wide. Some are 50 still. There's existing single-family homes. There's no compatibilities. To the south, we have RM4, separated by a canal and Bent Pine Golf Course. No incompatibilities. To the east, we have RS6 zone land that's owned by the applicant. Borders G3 Canal. It's vacant. No incompatibilities. And I'm sure the developer can speak to this, but one of the things driving their request is a proposed development that they have, and it's for single-family homes, and it's kicking, the need for this is because the RS3 zoning doesn't allow for that certain density, and there's also some lot width things which one of the representatives can talk about too. And I mentioned because they brought up the Planning and Zoning Commission, but I'll let them handle it. Now, conclusion, the request RS6 is compatible with surrounding uses, consistent with the comprehensive plan, meets the concurrency test, meets criteria to be rezoned, no additional environmental impacts, and staff supports the request. With that, staff and Planning and Zoning Commission recommend that the Board of County Commissioners approve the rezoning request from RS3 to RS6 by adopting the ordinance attached to the agenda item.
Thank you. Any questions of staff? And does the applicant have any questions for staff? If not, I'll ask if the applicant wishes to give any presentation.
Commissioner, we might want to open the public hearing.
That's a little bit, that's after the presentation by the applicant. Oh, you opened it just, okay, fine. The public hearing is opened. Are you representing the?
I'm representing the applicant. I'm the owner's rep on this project. I've known these people for over 15 years and have represented them for the past 15, 16 years. I'm Joseph Paladin, president of Black Swan. Morning, ladies and gentlemen, commissioners, Mr. County Administrator, Mr. County Attorney. On this project, one of the main reasons for the rezoning is the setbacks. We're looking to get more of not a cookie cutter type development, more of a custom home type development. So you have a 10-foot setback instead of a 15-foot setback, so it gives me a 60-foot envelope instead of a 50-foot envelope. All of our lots, 95% of our lots are still 80-foot wide, which qualifies for RS3. We have one lot that's 79.8, one that's 77.9, and one that's 78.7. But other than that, they're all 80-foot wide, and we can adjust those to where they're gonna be around 80 feet too, once we break ground. All of our concurrency, level of service, and our compliances are based on 115 lots. So we didn't trip any buzzers. We're well within the demands on concurrency based on 115 lots. So I ask you approve this so we can go forward. It's going to be a really nice development. It's going to be custom homes. It's not going to be a cookie cutter. It's going to be something that the county can be proud of and something I'm proud to represent. So if there's any questions, I'd like to answer them. If there's any thing that comes up from the people here, I would like to have time to come up and refer to it.
Thank you. Commissioners, any questions for the applicant? There being none, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
I'll now ask if there's anybody from the public who has any questions of the county staff or of the applicant. Anybody from the public? There being none, I'll ask staff if they have any final words they'd like to say. There being none, the applicant, any final words?
No, except, you know, all the neighbors that were out there, I met with the neighbors out there, and any questions they had, I tried to address those before the meeting, so any thoughts they had, their questions were answered.
Mr. Chair, I do have, Joe, what, do you know what the final density is going to be with the 115 lots and the two parcels?
78 lots.
Okay, so that's less than 2?
No, that's 2.7, yeah.
2.7, okay, thank you.
Any other questions of the applicant? Thank you very much. I didn't see any documents or other tangible evidence that needs to be presented to the clerk, and I'll note that the county staff agenda materials are automatically admitted into evidence unless there's an objection. And at this point, I'll close the public hearing. Commissioners, any comments, questions?
Move staff recommendation to approve the rezoning.
We have a motion by Commissioner O'Brien, second by Commissioner Adams to approve staff recommendation. Any last comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes 4-0. Commissioner Flesher being absent.
Thank you, Commissioners, I appreciate it.
Thank you. We now move on to item 10A2, which is Florida Power and Light's request for a major site plan and special exception use approval for a private heavy utility. This also is a quasi-judicial proceeding. The parties to the proceedings are Indian River County and Florida Power and Light. I'm going to ask the commissioners to disclose any ex parte communications, site visits, or independent investigations. Commissioner Zork.
Yes, no site visits, Mr. Chairman. A number of months back, there was a interview I participated on talking about solar farms and solar expansion, and I think there might have been some reference to some additional solar facilities coming this way, and this is apparently one of those that was mentioned, so that's my only disclosure, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Commissioner Adams.
No.
I would have had the same type of conversation about possible solar coming into the county as Commissioner Zork. I don't remember any specifics about this particular project, just saying that they were going to have another project similar to the two they already had in the county. Commissioner O'Brien.
I did have a meeting with FPL staff a few months back when they were talking about bringing this forward. And so I do believe they specifically referenced this particular site. But other than that, it was kind of more of a information in general, and that was it.
Thank you. I'll now ask that the commissioners confirm that they have an open mind and are able to base their decision on the evidence presented and applicable law. Commissioner O'Brien.
I do and I will.
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 Thank you. We'll now open the public hearing. I'm going to ask that if anybody is here who's going to speak on this matter or may speak on this matter, if they'll rise to be sworn in by the clerk. And then I'll ask the clerk if you could swear in the people, please.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Thank you very much. We'll now have a presentation by the county staff. Gentlemen?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. For the record, I'm Ryan Sweeney, Senior Planner with the Indian River County Community Development Department. Today, we have a request for a major site plan and special exception use approval for the FPL Orange Blossom Solar Energy Center. A brief slide showing the special exception process. For special exceptions, the board is to consider the appropriateness and compatibility of the requested use. There are general criteria that apply to all special exception uses, and there are also specific land use criteria that apply to each individual special exception use. In this case, it's a private heavy utility. And the process requires 2 public hearings, one in front of the Planning and Zoning Commission, which has already occurred, and today, the public hearing in front of the Board of County Commissioners. Ultimately, the board is to approve the request with conditions, or to deny the request. An overall location map showing the proposed project site west of I-95 and south of State Road 60. The proposed site is at 122nd Avenue and Oslo Road. There are 2 existing solar sites, one at 98th Avenue and Oslo Road, and a second at 122nd Avenue and the South County line. So this will be the 3rd site, generally in the southwest portion of the county. A more detailed location map, again, showing that the subject site is located at the northeast corner of 122nd Avenue and Oslo Road. The subject site, as well as all of the surrounding properties, are zoned A2 Agricultural 2. An aerial showing the existing conditions of the site. It is a former citrus grove, or aggregate of former citrus groves. And you also see the St. John's Improvement District pump ditch number 3 that essentially divides the site in half, north to south. The overall site plan showing the solar array layout, as well as the access roads and the inverters among the solar arrays, and then a substation and laydown area at the southeast corner of the overall project site. And again, the site is split sort of in half by the St. John's pump ditch. The project construction route, while the solar fields is being built, will be from State Road 60 down 122nd Avenue and into the site from Oslo Road at 2 existing driveway connections. That's shown here on the next slide. There are 2 essentially dirt driveway connections to Oslo Road, one on either side of the pump ditch. The vehicular access plan also shows the primary stabilized pathways, which are 20 feet wide, as well as the secondary pathways, which are 12 feet wide. There is a very minor landscape requirement for 10 canopy trees around the substation area. Per provision in our LDRs, all other landscape provisions or requirements have been waived by the County Community Development Director. At its meeting of July 11, 2019, the Planning and Zoning Commission voted 5-0 to recommend that the board grant major site plan and special exception use approval with the conditions recommended by staff. And today, staff's recommendation is that the board grant major site plan and special exception use approval for the proposed FPL Orange Blossom Solar Energy Center with conditions stated in staff report related to the landscape improvements and the project construction route. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions of staff?
Mr. Rent, just, Ryan, this will be like the other solar projects where it'll be 74.5 megawatts, which is below the
Yes.
the criteria that would trigger a major site review thing?
Yes, Chairman Solari, Commissioner O'Brien, that would trigger the Power Plant Siting Act over 75 megawatts. So it would be at 74.5.
Thank you.
Any other questions of staff? I'll ask if FP&L has any questions of our staff. And there being none, I'll ask if FP&L has any presentation they'd like to make. Good morning. Name and address for the record, please.
Good morning. My name is Bart Getchins, Area External Affairs Manager, 9001 Ellis Road, Melbourne. This morning we seek your approval of our Orange Blossom Solar Energy Center. As you are aware, this energy center would be our 3rd solar facility in Indian River County, joining Indian River and Blue Cypress Energy Centers. We'd like to thank staff for their assistance on this project, and to provide more details about the Orange Blossom Energy Center, please allow me to introduce our project manager, Melanie Roger.
Thank you, Bart. Good morning. My name is
My name is Melanie Roger, and I am the project manager for Florida Power and Light Company. I'm here to talk to you today about the proposed Orange Blossom Solar Energy Center. My business address is 700 Universe Boulevard, Juno Beach, Florida, 33408. First, I'd like to thank staff for all their help and support on this project so far, and I'd like to thank each and every one of you on the board for your time today. As you know, can you put it up? Sorry. As you know, we built two sites here in Indian River County that began serving your community since 2018. Since then, we've announced our groundbreaking plans to install 30 million solar panels by 2030, making Florida a world leader in solar energy. We're excited about the possibility to build even more solar here in Indian River County, making you part of this historic adventure. Thank you. Next slide, please. Here are pictures of some of the newest solar energy centers built here in Indian River County. In your top right, you see the Blue Cypress Solar Energy Center, and in the bottom right, you see the Indian River Solar Energy Center. As you can see over on the left, you see the proposed Orange Blossom Energy Center, which is just west of the Blue Cypress and just north of Indian River. It's virtually identical to the other two. The existing solar energy centers are 150 megawatts combined and have had positive economic impacts to the county, including increased tax revenue. In fact, the estimated tax revenue for 2019 for the existing two projects are estimated to be over $600,000 for Indian River County. So as you can see, the proposed project is located approximately 4 miles west of I-95 and 2.5 miles south of State Road 60. If built, it would have a generating capacity of 74.5 megawatts. The property is ideal because of its close proximity to the existing FPL transmission infrastructure, and it's virtually free of environmentally sensitive areas. This is a artist's depiction of what the solar energy center would look like if built. As you can see, the property is located just east of 122nd Avenue Southwest and just north of 9th Street Southwest. You can also see Blue Cypress Energy Center in the top right-hand corner. Also, as part of the development process, we take the opportunity to reach out to our project neighbors and community stakeholders. We've sent out letters to the surrounding landowners describing the project and have made ourselves available to answer any questions or concerns. The site is also located within the St. John's Improvement District, and we go to the local landowners meetings as well as the monthly board member meetings as well. So the landowners out there are very familiar with us and our projects. These are pictures of some construction photos of some recent solar installations. As you can see, they're typical components of what you would see during construction. Once built, the site would consist of about 300,000 solar panels that would sit about 7 feet off the ground at the highest point. These systems are assembled by hand, which is why there's such a need for a large number of workers. In fact, at the height of construction, we have about 200 workers, which provide additional benefit to the economy through local businesses and purchasing of local goods and services. We also encourage our EPC to use local labor, and we also use local landowners, land planners when possible. So again, just to reiterate, solar energy centers make great neighbors. Once constructed, our sites are virtually silent. We only operate during the daytime hours, and we're zero emissions free. So each one of these sites that come on site is equivalent to removing 12,000 cars off the road each year, and we power about 15,000 homes with each one of these sites. So essentially speaking, solar energy is our crop, and we harvest it in a way that is beneficial to our customers and our community. With that, I'd like to thank you once again for your time today. I, along with Bart and the rest of the team, are here to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. Any questions by commissioners? Commissioner Zork.
Yes, I see on the bottom right behind the on the site plan, there's the future battery storage. Is there any timeline for that component?
At this time, there is not. As you might have heard, we have our new project that we've announced in Manatee for the 409 megawatt battery storage. So this is one of the areas as technology gets, as it gets more cost effective, we'll be looking at opportunities to explore and expand.
All right, thank you.
Commissioner O'Brien.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Melanie, with the two existing solar plants, any particular quirks that have come up or any issues or any operational things that stand out, or they've just been cranking away and doing their thing?
They've been cranking away doing their thing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll ask if staff has any questions for FP&L. If there aren't any, thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you very much for your time.
I'm now going to ask if there's anybody in the public who has any questions of either our staff or FP&L. Anybody from the public? Come on up, name and address for the record, please.
Did he get sworn in?
Yeah, did you get sworn in, sir?
I did not.
Well, you can speak, but I'll ask the clerk to swear you in.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. Hi. James Kelly, 35-year resident of Indian River County, retired law enforcement officer, Vero Beach City. Thanks for taking a moment with me. My question to you guys is it's a massive project. Is there an economic benefit to the consumer? Will the price of our electricity drop as a result of this project? Or will it remain the same? Do you have an opinion on that? What's the effect on the consumer? That's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you for your question. The answer is yes, all projects are cost effective. In fact, we brought on 4 solar energy centers earlier this year, and the overall cost that we believe it's going to pass through the customer is going to be an overall net savings of $40 million. So, this is due to avoided fuel costs, and like we said, it's also an added benefit to the county through increased tax revenues as well, but it will reduce your overall electric bill.
Anybody else from the public? There being none, I will now ask if there are any final presentations on behalf of staff. Any final presentations by FP&L? I will again say that I saw no documents or tangible evidence that needs to be presented to the clerk, and will note that the county staff agenda materials are automatically admitted into evidence unless there is an objection. Any objection to that? There is none. With that, I will close the public hearing. Commissioners.
Mr. Chairman, I'll go ahead and make a motion that we approve staff recommendation with the attached conditions as provided for in the backup.
We have a motion to approve by Commissioner O'Brien, second by Commissioner Adams. Any final comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Passes 4-0, Commissioner Fletcher being absent. Thank you very much, staff. And thank you, FP&L, for coming here today. We will now move on to public discussion items. The first is a request to speak from Nicole Knowles regarding the reduction or removal of a demolition lien on property located at 4855 34th Avenue. Is Ms. Knowles here this morning?
Yes.
Good morning. Name and address for the record, please.
Nicole Knowles.
Thank you. Address?
Oh, my physical address?
Any address you want to give?
Oh, 2016 2nd Street, Vero Beach, Florida, 32962.
Thank you. You're up.
Okay. I'm here to present my case before the board for the property located, I'm sorry, I don't have the physical address with me.
4855 34th Avenue?
Yes, sir. The one on 34th Avenue. I obtained the property maybe 2 months ago. There is a building lien on it there was a structure on the property that has been, since demolished by the county. I believe that there's a $3,500 fee for the county coming out and completing that demolition. I was wondering if I can present my case before the board to have that fee reduced. It's a significant amount of money for a property that's worth 10% of that, maybe.
You're welcome to speak up.
The property, since I have obtained it, there was an also additional building code lien on there for over $19,000. I did go and have another board meeting last month regarding that to get that reduced. Since I have owned the property, I have cleaned the property up, I have maintained the property. The property is in good standing now. I do plan on restoring the property by building on it, but those fees are quite a lot when you have a child leaving for college today. And it is, I was just wondering if I can present my case before the board to see if we can get those fees reduced, because it's just a lot for that. I believe it's $35.84 what's owed for that demolition project by the county. I was wondering if maybe we can reduce that so I can go ahead and pay for those fees and move forward with my building project.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question for Roland, if he wouldn't mind coming up. Roland, what action did the code board take, please?
Roland Du Bois, County Community Development Director. This came to the code board last month. The fine, which was fairly substantial, was reduced to $480, which was based on a percentage of the property. I think the code board felt they did take into consideration the appraised value of the property, which I think was in the $4,800 range.
Yes, sir.
So they reduced it to substantially to $480. And as far as the lien for the demolition, researching it, looks like it's $3,003.68. The lien that was recorded is typical through the demolition lien process, and recording a lien allows for a 5.75 per annum interest. And consistent with past, staff doesn't support a reduction in the actual cost, but have supported in the past, if the board feels appropriate, waiving of the interest. So that would be one option that the board could consider.
And I will just remind the board at this time that we don't take votes on public discussion items, so basically it'd be up to a board member to indicate that they might put it on their matters at a future meeting.
And Ms. Knowles, we're kind of stuck here, like a lot of times with the code enforcement, there's a lot of accumulated fees and interest, so that's kind of, I'd call it like soft money. It hadn't been really dollars cost to the county. With a demolition lien, we've had to take taxpayer, real dollars from taxpayers and expend that to do the demolition. So in my mind, there's a big difference between reducing the code thing, which is just accumulated fines and interest and stuff, and then taxpayer dollars that we have spent. It's hard for me to say, I'm going to waive that and make all the taxpayers having to have paid for you. Basically that's what you're asking us to do. So I could support what Roland has recommended, that we would waive the interest and things like that, but I think the actual demolition cost, I think we would still have to keep that lien on there, because we did spend taxpayer dollars to do that. And that's just where I'm sitting.
Any other comments? Commissioner Adams?
I would, what would what would it bring it down to if we waived the interest, Roland? Do you know?
I believe the actual cost is $3,003.68. That's without the interest.
Okay, all right.
And roughly how long has the interest been running for?
This was recorded in 2012.
Okay, so that'd be a significant amount.
And so, and the code enforcement has already reduced the other part to $480?
Yes, it's already been reduced to the $480.
So reduction of over $4,300, if I understood the
Okay.
initial amount.
I would agree with Commissioner O'Brien. I'd be happy to look at waiving the interest, to reduce it to what just our actual costs are, which is, typical in these types of situations that I've seen. So I'd be happy. I don't know, Commissioner O'Brien, if that's something you want to bring back?
Yeah,
or
I'll be
whatever.
glad to bring it back in September.
Okay.
I'll have it under my matter so we can take a formal vote on it. But it sounds like it'll just be waiving the accumulated interest, but you'll still be responsible for the $3,003.68.
Okay.
Okay?
Yes, sir,
All
that
right.
sounds fair.
Roland, if you could just make sure that Ms. Knowles is copied on the agenda so she could be here. She wants to be when I bring this back up.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
Commissioner Zork has a question.
Yes, maybe more for Roland. Was there any accumulated base ERU fees for the water and sewer, I'm guessing, that service the property prior to demolition? Just want to make sure there's not something else out there.
I'm not sure on that.
Okay.
I have a question. If they did a demolition project, and they're charging me for it, why didn't they complete the full demolition? It's still a slab that they left there on the property.
Well, one of the main reasons is we want to remove blight
Okay.
from the community. And if we leave them standing, they end up being often crack houses and places for people to congregate who really are engaged in activities they ought not be engaged in. A slab basically doesn't present that type of problem to the community.
Okay, just wondering.
Thank you.
Is that it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And staff will research the water and sewer thing before it comes back.
Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
then the county attorney's office will prepare a release of lien as conjunction with the item.
Thank you. Now move on to public discussion items 2, public discussion request from Gina Kempf regarding the Tunnel to Towers 5K invitation. Ma'am, welcome, and if you would, give your name and address for the record.
Good morning. My name is Gina Kempf. My address is 835 29th Court, Vero Beach. I have the pleasure of taking this 8th year of the Tunnel to Towers race as the race director, bringing it once again to Vero Beach. I would like to say thank you to the council members for allowing me to speak on this matter today. I'd also like to thank the continued support of Chief Stone, Chief Curry, and Sheriff Lohr for this event. Vero Beach is now one of over 70 events for the Tunnel to Tower Foundation worldwide that retraces the steps of a hero on 9/11 to honor the men and women who have chosen service. Stephen Siller was a firefighter on 9/11. He drove his truck to the entrance of the Brooklyn Battery Tunnel. Let me begin his story. He was actually off duty on that day. He was on his way to play golf with his brothers, and he heard over the monitor that the first plane struck the first tower. And he decided he needed to turn around and go help his brethren, so he called his wife and told her that he was going to go and help out at Ground Zero. He drove his truck to the entrance of the Battery Tunnel, but it had already been closed for security. Determined to carry out his duty, he strapped on 60 pounds of gear and ran on foot through the tunnel to the Twin Towers, where he gave up his life saving others. Author and family friend Jay Price wrote, "Every momentous event, even a tragedy, has its symbolic figures. September 11th was no different, it just had a few more. Rudy Giuliani, Father Michael Judge, the 4 from the plane on United 9, 100 more, maybe 1,000 more, but none bigger than Stephen Siller, whose stature only grows as New Yorkers and people around the world follow his footsteps each year. Incredibly, we now have an entire generation who do not have a memory of the planes that terrorized our country that day. The feeling in our heart as the unknown unfolded before us. In the aftermath and the days that followed as we watched buildings like the Pentagon burn, Ground Zero, we all sat incredulous as we watched it unfold on our screens. Today, while we fight ourselves from within, there are people who have no memory of hearing our television announcers declare, "My God, our country is under attack." 2,983 lives were lost that day, and we're now over 2,000 more who have been lost to 9/11 related illnesses from the cleanup efforts. Those are staggering numbers. Vero Beach is a community that chooses to never forget. By doing this event every year, we already have 133 people that have registered to participate on September 14th. Last year, we broke all records, hitting 528 people who came out and participated with us. Let Us Do Good is the motto of the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. We started out always hearing about the Smart Home program, and that program continues. They build specially adapted smart homes that enable most catastrophically injured veterans to live a more independent lives. To date, the foundation has started construction or is in the design state of 85 total homes. There's another program now which is called the Fallen First Responder Home Program. It fulfills the debt of home obligations for firefighters and police officers that were killed in the line of duty. Since 2015, 40 families have been given security and stability of a mortgage-free home. The foundation has also made significant financial contributions to assist countless first responders' families in need. We now, unfortunately, have had to develop yet another program. It's the Gold Star Family Home Program. It honors the legacy of those who made the ultimate sacrifice while serving our country. The foundation provides mortgage-free homes to surviving families with young children. The foundation has delivered or is in the planning stages of 30 Gold Star homes. Vero Beach has continued to play a large role between our sponsors and our participants. We have sponsors who dedicate money every single year to being able to give to this foundation. The foundation returns 93.1% of its money back into the programs that it services. It's not about the 7-figure salaries for people. It's Stephen's family that began this foundation out of love for what he stood for what his beliefs were. They took a tragedy in their life, something that they were right there at ground zero. This was many friends of theirs that they lost. It was their brother that they lost. And instead of becoming bitter, they turned it around. They said, let us do good. And every day that's what this foundation aims for, is to let us do good. I would like to ask all of the council members to come out and stand with all of Vero Beach, September 14th, 7:30 a.m. at Riverside Park, to be with us, to say that we remember. We put out 420 signs of all of the first responders who were lost on that day. Joe and Denise Core have now given us the funds to purchase 2,983 flags, as well as to be able to put flags beside all of the images of the firefighters and police officers to make sure that everyone understands who they were. It's not just a run, it's not just a 5K. Those of you that have been with us for every year that you come out and you stand with us and you walk through that section of Riverside Park that's dedicated to these people, you have a feeling, you have a moment. It's an honor to be able to say that we as a community will never forget what happened on that day to us. Thank you very much for your time, and I hope everyone within the sound of my voice will come out and be with us on September 14th.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you.
Gina, is there a website or anything people will go to register and stuff? Would you like to give that?
Yes, sir. It's www.run.org. And you can register there, and there's all kinds of information about the foundation and the work that the foundation does.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item is another public discussion item, a public discussion request from Nancy Kelly regarding the renaming of the main library, the Mary Denham Snyder Library. Is Ms. Kelly here? Come on up, please. Name and address for the record, please.
I have a couple handouts I'd like to give to the commission. Good morning. My name is Nancy Kelly. My address is 1015 40th Avenue here in Vero Beach. I've lived in Indian River County for 36 years. I'm here today to ask you, the commission, to consider naming the main library the Mary Denham Snyder Library. Mary worked for 30 years as the library service director for Indian River County. She gave a total of 33 years of dedication to our library system. Mary retired in 2016. She passed away on May 8th of this year. She first came to Vero Beach in 1983. She held 2 master's degrees, one in library information and science and one in English. In 1986, a bond issue was passed which allowed the county to take over the then private, not-for-profit library. Mary played an integral part in the design and construction of the main library, which opened in 1991. She was instrumental in expanding the system to include the North County Library, the Gifford Library, and the Brackett Library. She also helped to open the Book Depot and Friends of the Library. I was recently told that more than 30,000 people use our library every month. Mary took a small library and made it into a major information center. Mary loved reading. She had a passion for literacy. Her personal library was vast, and she gladly shared many books with me and with others. Her son, Bob Newland, recalls how he would travel with Mary all over the Southeast searching for books to add to our library system. She handpicked each book that she brought to the library. Mary worked closely with FEMA and other agencies after Hurricanes Jean and Francis. She helped arrange for FEMA and the unemployment office to work out of the library building. This was a tremendous help to our community, and Mary made it happen. She implemented the children's department with books, videos, DVDs, and special events for infants through 6th grade children. Mary introduced the internet to library patrons in 1998. That year, 25,000 patrons used the computers. Now the computers are used by well over 80,000 patrons a year. Along with internet access, we have state-of-the-art research software. She was very involved with the Vero Beach veterans and served as their treasurer for many years. Mary gave so much to our community. She had many, many friends. The home she made with her husband, Tony, was always open to visitors. She would do anything for anyone. To know her, I believe, was truly to love her. She raised 2 children as a single mother while serving our county, going above and beyond her job description. She was not your typical Marian the librarian. Mary loved NASCAR, the University of Kentucky Wildcats. She was funny, feisty, loving, and one of a kind. Our county is so fortunate and blessed to have had Mary Snyder proudly serve as the Library Services Director. I understand the Friends of the Library have planned to name a meeting room for Mary. I have a petition of over 250 signatures. We believe she deserves to have the entire building named in her memory. I respectfully ask that you consider my proposal to rename the library the Mary Denham Snyder Library. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Any questions or comments? Thank you.
Maybe somebody else might want to speak to this.
Well, this is in public discussion. We normally don't have multiple people speak. But ma'am, go ahead if you want to say something. Yes, name and address for the record, please.
My name is Anne Marie Rosmell. I reside at 344 13th Place Southwest in Vero. I've lived here for 34 years. I was a friend of Mary for 33 of those. I met her at a function, at a meeting, at an Exchange Club meeting at the old library, across the street from the old police station. Her and I were friends from, hi, my name is Mary, hi, my name is Anne Marie. Mary was, to quote Tom Petty, she never backed down. She had a passion, she had a love. She fought for what she thought was right. Sometimes she had to back down. She dealt with Mr. Baird. She dealt with a lot of different people. But Mary was dedicated. She wanted the county to have the best library system for everyone, no matter if you were small or 90 years old. And I think it would be a great honor if you did name the library after her in her memory.
Thank you very much. And again, we don't take votes on public discussion items. It might be good if you tried to contact a commissioner that you know and ask them to put it under their matters if they are so inclined.
Mr.
And-
Chair, could I just add a comment,
yes,
please? Well, two things. One, I'm sure if Commissioner Flesher was here, he would be pleased to say that the Vietnam veterans renamed their annual golf tournament after Mary. And I played this year when they unveiled the new sign and stuff. And Mr. Chairman, I believe you were there as well. And as far as the library, recently at our fairgrounds, we named one of the components, one of the buildings of the fairgrounds after David Fleetwood. And to me, this is kind of similar. If I look at the library as a whole, naming one component of that, one of the rooms after Mary, I think would be appropriate. It'd be very much like what we did with Mr. Fleetwood. I'm not sure personally if I'm supportive of naming the entire library after Mary. I do realize she was a major component, but I fully support naming one of the rooms after Mary and giving her the recognition there. But I think that's just kind of where I'm sitting right now, is I think a component of the library, just like we did with Mr. Fleetwood, a component of the fairgrounds was appropriate at that time. But that's just kind of my opinion.
Thank you. Any other comments? And with that, thank you very much. No, man, we're not going to have a big conversation going back and forth. I think you have a good path forward.
I was just going to say, if it wasn't for Mary, you wouldn't have the library system.
Thank you. And with that, this is a good time to take a 10-minute break.